Welcome to the DNX podcast, the number one resource for entrepreneurs, nomads, and impact-driven souls. And I am your coach, Silvia Christman. Welcome back, everyone. I'm here today with my friend Leah Hunter, who is a producer of a TV show. She's an author. I think you've written 2 books already, a 3rd one on the way. You are a journalist with Fast Company, O'Reilly, Forbes, and many others. So thank you so much for being here today.
It is entirely my pleasure, and I will not forget from that list Business Insider Deutschland, because important.
Important. Yes.
Deutschland, yes.
Deutschland, yes, exactly.
Right.
I ran into you in Lisbon not too long ago, and you were telling me that you recently had an amazing talk, or that you gave an amazing talk about sound and vision at the Reeperbahn Festival in Hamburg. Is that correct?
I did. I'm so pleased. I hang out with several people who help organize things at the Reeperbahn Festival. One is a woman who runs, what is it? It is Digital Women Deutschland, which is such a great organization. And she invited me to go and to judge a startup competition there. And then I gave this talk at the next conference, which was sort of an appendage to Reeperbahn. And it was all about the way that augmented reality, which is what my first 2 books were about, is intersecting with music and art in some really cool, interesting new ways.
Fascinating. So, how did you enjoy Germany? Very unbiased question.
I love Germany. I loved it so much that I went to Berlin afterward. But in Hamburg, I definitely stayed for the music. Like, half the reason I did Reeperbahn was my friends were organizing it, and it was really fun, and a chance to give this talk, which I like. If anyone wants to talk about holography or projection mapping, we can do it all day. Just get in touch with me. It's fine. But one of the things that I really liked about Hamburg and about Reeperbahn is that the music was the focus, and it was such good music. I discovered some really amazing bands. Like, one of them, their name is like Boy Azunga, or Azuga, Saazooga. I made a point of finding out their name afterward. They're from Northern England, and they're like so talented. And there was a German band that was also really amazing. They're called Caries, Karies. I couldn't understand a word that they were saying, but their show was exceptional. So yes, Germany rocks. And my time in Berlin immediately after that, also exceptional.
Well, I appreciate that feedback, and I'm sure many of the people who are listening too find it exciting to hear that people do actually enjoy their time in Germany very much so. Your work is very future focused. I'm curious to hear, how do you actually see the future, and what does it mean to you?
That's an interesting one, because one of the talks that I give quite frequently it's totally a misnomer. It is titled How Do You See the Future? But really, it's about creating your own future, because as the leader of your business or your startup or your division within the company, or even of your own life, it is incumbent upon you to keep yourself excited and enthusiastic. And there are a number of ways that you can do that, but it's your spark that lights up your employees or your team or your company. And you can really feel it. Like, when I write stories, if I'm feeling disengaged, or if I'm in a bad mood or whatever, they don't get a lot of hits or reads or anything. Like, they get plenty, but it's not as much as if I'm really excited about what I'm writing about. That energy is conveyed through what I'm writing. And so to keep yourself excited is incredibly important. And the best way to create your future is to actively seek out ways to keep yourself inspired.
What are your favorite ways to keep yourself inspired?
I list in a lot of my bios. It's a softball question. We really did not plan that, but I put in a lot of my bios that I am a full-time explorer of the world, and that's absolutely true. Like, right now, I'm doing this podcast from a hotel library in Paris, where I discovered it's this very beautiful place that is full of, I'm trying to find the name of it. It's called the Hotel Lutetia, which was apparently the original name for Paris in Latin. It's Lutis or Lute or some such, but it's full of books about fashion and about travel and about architecture and about modern art. And I've been sitting here while it's been raining outside all afternoon in this hotel library reading books. But I realized I wanted a glass of wine. And so there's a wine reception going on next door, which clearly I wasn't supposed to be at. But I liked the pants of one of the people who was attending the reception. So I struck up a conversation with her, and she was really nice and invited me in. And now I'm drinking champagne, and I ate a lot of delicious things on sticks. Like, I keep myself inspired by making sure that my days are full of surprising experiences in unexpected places. And whenever I have an intuitive urge to go and do something or say hi to someone, or I would like to do that, rather than shutting myself down and saying, oh, no, I wasn't invited. I say, well, maybe there's a way. Or also, why don't I just start the conversation? It's not because I wasn't trying to get into the party, but I liked her pants. So, and it led all sorts of amazing places.
So if somebody's trying to find new inspirations, but is a little bit more reserved towards the outside world or the unknown, do you have advice for them where they can get started and how they can get started in this journey?
Totally, because I used to be like that. Yes, I do. I used to spend a lot of time, and I still do, clearly I'm in a library, but a lot of time in bookstores and also online. And I still do to some extent, but it's like whenever something strikes my fancy, I would just go sort of on a kind of an Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole mental allowing myself to just follow this random thread. So, it had nothing to do with what I was working on, nothing to do with what I thought my interests were, but I'd, walk through a bookstore and suddenly, something like cooking, like baking would get my attention. Baking got my attention. And I'm thinking back years ago, baking got my attention, and I started reading all of these really interesting cookbooks. And then I started reading baking magazines. And then I realized, I would actually really like to try this. So I looked online and discovered there's a culinary school not far from my house. And this culinary school teaches baking classes, among others, and they have like a culinary program. Why don't I just start taking classes? And so I got inspired. I mean, you could call it bored, but you could also call it like I had started following this thread. I was like, oh yeah, so and I can do that in the evening. And I spent a year going to culinary school just because I was curious about it. And I can bake. I can do some garde manger. Like I can do the stuff now, but it doesn't necessarily apply to my current life, except that it does. It opened me up creatively in ways that many other things wouldn't have. And it gave me a way to sort of apply my both mental skill and also kinesthetic skill, like using my hands in some new ways that made my heart super happy.
Wow, I love that. I will follow that advice myself. Question for you. It's almost the end of 2018. As a full-time world explorer, where have you been this year, and which places have inspired you the most?
Oh my God, Silvia, you don't even know what you just asked.
That's a loaded question.
That was huge. Well, I
know the feeling. And I think of many people listening know that that's a very loaded question. It's like, I don't remember is usually my first answer.
No, I can give you an answer, but it's you. Okay. I'm
ready.
I have a television show that I produce. I have several, but this one is called Created Here. And we tell the story of different cities through the eyes of their artists and primarily their musicians. We shot our first season in the US and it just got picked up by a TV network. It'll start airing in January and February, which is awesome. But we started filming because we had this very precise vision of how we wanted it done well before it was picked up. And so we filmed in New Orleans, Austin, San Francisco, Oakland, Joshua Tree, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Newport, Rhode Island, and now we're doing Detroit and Marfa, Texas. So those are coming up in a couple of weeks. I've been all of those places, as well as just bouncing across Europe for Paris Design Week, and then in Spain to do an interview for my latest book, and then in Germany for the Reeperbahn Festival, and in Italy because Italy is very beautiful. I've never been to Rome, and then back to Lisbon, and back to Paris. And so I can't answer that. To answer your question more concisely, I don't have a favorite place among those. And as you can tell, all of that is a weaving together of the projects that I'm working on, like my latest book and the TV show, and also a following of my heart and my intuitive call. Like I was like, I'm in Spain and I'm very close to Italy, and I want to go to Italy. Like I can do that. I can do my work from anywhere that I happen to be. Like I can make that happen. And so my favorite experiences and places are always the ones that I chose based on not I have to go there, but I want to go there. And even if I kind of have to go somewhere, I bake things around it. I wrap things into it that make sure that it's the most fun experience ever. And I let the universe guide me toward those things too. Like some of it is planned and some of it is like, universe, whatever great thing you have for me, I am open to it, and let it come.
So you have a daughter and a husband to be. Mm-hmm. And do they come with you?
Well, the answer is yes. That is all moving in new directions right now. And the answer is yes. Like my daughter, it's funny, by the time she was 5, this is something everyone should know. Like, and maybe people in Germany have a different perspective than a lot of the people that I've interacted with, but like kids are super flexible. And my daughter, by the time she was 5 years old, had logged 125 flight hours. And I've taken her to Iceland, which is a great place for kids, especially in the winter, like all the swimming pools and the Blue Lagoon, and Reykjavik is awesome. And Japan and London and all over the place. And her dad has also taken her to Costa Rica. She's been to Burning Man twice. Like the kid the kid rocks. Like, and she can roll with it. And children are easy. And that's one thing that I think, like in Europe, it's exceptional because you can get from anywhere to anywhere in such little time. In the US is huge, but still it's easy there, and it's easy to take her to Japan, and it's like it's been great. And she is a marvelously wonderful and flexible and smart and adaptable child, and I appreciate that very much.
I love hearing that because I think it's so important that we do talk about this. I grew up in Germany, and I was literally taken all around the world by my mom and with my grandparents all around Europe. And that to me was the norm. It's normal to me to just go anywhere. And I have found that having lived amongst, the traveling tribes of the endlessly curious, once not me, because I don't have a child, but once they all had children, their lifestyle didn't really shift that much. The only thing that shifted is that they may have moved a little slower, and the children of my friends who live a very explorative lifestyle are the most well-rounded humans I've ever met. If I compare that to those who are parenting in a more stationary environment, I would say my little traveling nomads and the mini version of them are the most well-rounded humans I've seen because they're so flexible and they seem to be so inherently at home everywhere in the world.
Yeah. And I totally credit my parents with that. Like they were not of that traveling nomad tribe, but for various reasons, they did travel once a year, and they got me a passport when I was young. And it was the best gift I could have ever received because it showed me that the world is full of amazing, beautiful places and kind, generous people. And the and doors open to you everywhere if you are the kind of person who is open to that. And I learned that when I was a child, and it changed everything about me. And I love it. I love my life.
Yeah. What would you tell somebody that says it's really dangerous to travel on your own as a woman in this world?
That the energy you put out is what you receive back. And I know that that's that can be a hard pill to swallow. Like you are a creator of your own reality. Like through your energy, if you put out fear, you receive back things to be afraid of. If you put out love or openness, kindness, generosity, appreciation, that's what you get back. And also, no matter what, you can also recognize the universe is always looking out for you. And I know that that's language that, I speak the language of physics and of metaphysics. A lot of what I've written about is science and emerging technology. And the book that I'm writing right now is about how those two often say the same thing, but just using different language. And right now I'm using the language more of metaphysics, but like the universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it, other people, like it looks out for you. There are kind people who will give you directions anywhere you need to go. There are people who will, you need a bus ticket, they'll buy what people are just nice. Like my life has had so many different kinds of experiences on so many different levels of existence. Like it's just, I know with absolute certainty that one, gender doesn't make a difference if you go with the attitude of I will be taken care of and I am A-okay and people are good. That's what you get.
Yes, I will agree with that. I ventured out into the world at a very young age, and it didn't occur to me that it could be unsafe. So I never had to translate any of it because I just assumed it would be fine and that people are nice.
Yeah, it's a good base assumption. Like if you start from the assumption everything is always working out for me, that's like it's a great starting point. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I was recently, and by that I mean earlier this year, I was back in Brazil at the Sao Paulo airport where I took my very first flight into the unknown. And when I was 19 and I arrived there, I had come without a plan, without a whole lot of money, and I just sort of arrived and decided it was going to be a good starting point to hitchhike across South America. Mm-hmm. And at the time, it just seemed to me that it was as a 19-year-old, it just seemed to be the most logical thing to do, that I had nothing to worry about. And when I went back there earlier this year as a grown woman with experiences, I spent some time at the airport and I thought, wow, that is quite impressive that 17 years ago, I thought this was a safe place, And I thought it was interesting that with experience, I had more discernment on what safety means and what it could mean. And I'm wondering if you've had a change of heart through experiences in your life as well.
No, if anything, okay. The answer is yes. And it's the opposite of what you might expect. My heart has opened more and more and more to the kindness of others and to being receptive to how good life is and to being, like everybody else. Like I got stories I could tell you, but I will never will because one, they have no relevance on my life now. And two, like they're so minuscule compared to there have been just amazing. I've had so much kindness and so much generosity and so much love that there's really nothing else that I could possibly speak to or look at in my life. And that just keeps getting better and better and more and more and more and more. Like the world is good.
Yes, it is. So, what is one thing that you would like to share with the audiences before we leave here today?
Oh, well, okay. I just read a book here in this library on visionary women. And there were some beautiful quotes by a few women, one of whom I was pretty amazed that I often quote in a talk. Her name is Madam C.J. Walker. She's the first African-American female millionaire. She had been a slave in cotton fields, and she created a hair treatment that made her rich and also very well respected in a way that she used her power for all sorts of social good in the world. And I appreciated that. So in the beginning of this book, someone just came in and they're coming out of the library now. But in the beginning of this book, there were some really beautiful quotes by different women. I just got up and picked up the book to read these to you. One of them, and it doesn't matter, man or woman, makes no difference. These quotes are amazing. One of them says, "Don't wait for a Gandhi. Don't wait for a king. Don't wait for a Mandela. You are your own Mandela. You are your own Gandhi. You are your own king." And that was by a woman named Lema Gwobi. And then there's one by a woman named Rosario Perez, and it says, you never know what doors remain to be open," which I really loved that. This one, it says, "To really change the way a society thinks, you have to give your entire being to it until there is nothing left." And that's by Marina. I always mess up her. I know who she is. She's a famous artist. It's Abramovic, I think. But I thought all of those were really lovely quotes. And if anyone's interested in the book, it's by a woman named Angela M. Nazarian, and it was published by Assouline, which is a publisher that I really love here in Paris. And it's called Visionary Woman. And it's a great book because I think our world is, I won't say changing. I think that our world is really open in all sorts of powerful ways to female leadership now. And that makes me incredibly happy. Incredibly happy. I am a champion of male leaders who are extraordinary, and I am a champion of female leaders who are extraordinary. And I like hearing both voices in the room.
Hear, hear. Loved hearing that. Yes. Very inspiring. Thank you so much. You've left me deeply inspired today. If people want to find you, where can they do that?
I am Leah the Hunter just about everywhere in the world. It was an email address from when I was like 18 and it stuck. It's LeahTheHunter. And that's my Twitter. That's my Instagram. My website is leahthehunter.info. You can find me there, or perhaps in a library drinking champagne.
Wonderful. We're also going to post those links below this podcast so that you can find Leah anytime you want. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Have a great day.
That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your ongoing support. Before I leave you, I want to invite you into my world. Please go check out dnxcommunity.com. This is where you'll find the other nomads and evaders of convention. We'll see you there. And if you're interested in our English-speaking events, go and check out dnxglobal.com. You'll find the link below this podcast as well. And if you have time, one last favor, please go to iTunes, look for Silvia Chrisman or look for the DNX podcast and leave a review. Thank you so much, lovely people, and I'll talk to you next time.